My name is Aldo Panini. I am the Director of Strategy, Program and Content for the Future Minerals Forum. And it's my pleasure to welcome two very important gentlemen to the stage to have a conversation. To my left here we have Farid Habib, who is the Director of Industrials and Mining Sector for the Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia, and Tamer Hansen, who is the Chief Investment Officer for Manara Minerals. Now, you would have been seeing and hearing a lot about Manara Minerals at this FMF, and since 2023, when Manara Minerals was created, they kind of set the scene for where the kingdom sees itself going as far as securing mineral supply through the announcement of taking a 10% stake in Vale Base Metals, which is still in process. So Manara has become, or is becoming, a major international force to enable the supply of new minerals, or strategic minerals, or critical minerals in what we call the super region of Africa, Western and Central Asia. So I'm going to start by asking Farid to tell us a little bit about the PIF strategy and how mining contributes to that overall objective.
Sure.
Over to you, Farid.
Thank you, Aldo. As you may have heard yesterday, I think the value of our endowment has increased, basically nearly doubled, so moved from $1.3 trillion to $2.5 trillion. This shows you how much potential there is in the mining sector in Saudi Arabia. And that's why the kingdom wants to increase the contribution of that sector in the overall GDP contribution, hence making this sector the third pillar of the industry, alongside oil and gas and petrochemicals. And the role of PIF is really to enable the sector, and this will be done through our portfolio companies, so Ma'aden and Manara. PIF was the initial investor in the sector. We helped grow and develop the mining sector in Saudi Arabia through Ma'aden. Ma'aden is today the fastest growing mining company. And it was able to develop and build value chains, the full value chain in phosphate and aluminium. And this is a testament of our ability really to build those value chains in the kingdom. In 2021, the strategy of Ma'aden was refreshed, and the objective is to grow the EBITDA by 10 times by 2040, and this will lead to an increase in the GDP to $23 billion and tripling the number of employees at Ma'aden. And also a key, the board has also provided clear direction to Ma'aden to focus on its ambitious plan in the kingdom. And not to do any international investments. Hence why PIF took the initiative to establish Manara Minerals, whose objective is to invest internationally in mining assets. And the main reasons for doing that is Vision 2030 will lead to nearly doubling our needs in copper and iron ore. Although also the kingdom is blessed with valuable minerals, other minerals may not be available in the kingdom or uneconomical to exploit. And also we realize that there are opportunities out there that maybe the kingdom is best positioned to capture them. So hence why we thought there's a strong business case to establish Manara, which we announced in last year during FMF, and within a short period of time, we managed to also announce a transaction. So it was quite an achievement, I would say.
And I should just highlight that it's these two gentlemen who have made Manara Minerals possible since its formal announcement. So I'm just putting a little bit of pressure on them because I think it's important to underline how significant the work that they're doing is, not just for the kingdom, but the broader region. And you just heard Farid deliver some very big numbers in terms of Ma'aden investment. This is potentially unparalleled in globally at the moment in terms of the amount of investment going into a company. So Tom, I'd like to bring you into the conversation now and to tell us a little bit more about Manara and what it stands for.
Yeah, so Manara, unlike Ma'aden, and thank you Aldo, thank you Fareed, normally M&A and mining investments happens more in the shadows. Today we're on the big stage, and I think that's part of the objective of this forum. And I think one of the reasons that Manara, as Fareed said, was established is around being, supplementary, complementary piece to the overall critical mineral strategy of the kingdom. And so today, Ma'aden is the major established operator. Manara Minerals is an investment vehicle. So we are going to partner with established operators. We are long-term investors for many decades to come in critical minerals, and currently our focus is on 4 key commodities, but we're in the early stages in our journey, and there's a lot more to come.
Can you tell us a bit more about those 4 commodities?
Well, so today we're focused on copper, nickel, lithium, and high-grade iron ore. The first transaction we announced with Vale Base Metals, a 10% investment, is primarily focusing on nickel and copper. And going forward, ultimately the intent is to support the development of 3 key value chains in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and in the super region. That one is copper smelting and refining. The other one is the EV or battery minerals and battery metals manufacturing. And the third one is steel making or potentially green steel making and iron ore conversion. And those are the metals we're focusing on today.
Fantastic. So Fareed, back to you in terms of how does the mining strategy of PIF fit into other sectors that PIF is focusing on?
Yeah, sure. So the metals and mining sector is one out of the 13 sectors that PIF cover, and actually it's one of the key drivers. Without those metals, you cannot build the value chains. Yeah. So in the very near term, the kingdom will be producing around 300,000 electric vehicles, and as you may know, these will need a lot of minerals to do that. Lithium and nickel, constitute more than 50% of the cost of a battery. So being able to secure those and feed it into the value chain will be an enabler to the downstream sectors. And on the renewable side, the ambition of the kingdom is to produce 50% of its electricity out of renewables, and 70% of that will come from PIF investments. As you may know, wind and solar will also require a lot of those minerals. I mean, on the wind side, the most important mineral there is iron ore, really. People don't realize that. And obviously the steel demand in the kingdom is expected to reach 30 million tons by 2035, and this will be an enabler to all our giga projects, and then the oil and gas sector as well.
So no pressure then?
Yeah, exactly.
So I guess, Tamo, the emergence of Manara, what does it mean for the world? What's the big picture outlook here?
Well, I think, maybe for the world is a slightly ambitious statement, but I think
big.
Maybe. Yeah. But I think for now, what we can offer is, long-term patient capital for global mining investment. We're not focused, yes, the super region that we've heard a lot about today and yesterday is very important as an area where we feel we can add a lot of benefit, but ultimately our mandate is global. So what Manara can offer with the support of PIF and stakeholders here in Saudi Arabia is genuine long-term capital, and that is not something that is particularly common this day in the mining industry. A lot of investments are short-term. Public markets are increasingly short-term. And to really develop long-term projects, that can take 10, 15 years. And I think that's the kind of vision that Saudi Arabia and the PIF can offer to the world in terms of providing a long-term capital to help them deliver their objectives in terms of local employment, beneficiation, extraction of resources, development of infrastructure, skills, and obviously with our partners on the operating side and our partners in government and communities, I think that's where we can add maybe something that's a little bit different to what the mining industry has seen over the last quite a few years now.
And that's a really important point, because we've been hearing throughout FMF about this issue of short-term versus long-term investment. And there's been plenty of heated or slightly robust debate in the main plenary around how should the financial world be considering investing in the super region. And so maybe to you, Farid, what has been your experience so far since the creation of Manara? And on this issue of financing, how are you, just building on Tarmo's points, how are you looking at the region?
Yeah, look, I mean, obviously this has been a long journey. We've been working on this for the last 2 years, interacting with all the different stakeholders. And we realized that in the mining sector, there was a gap. There was a need for a player such as Manara to be able to enable certain projects that have been sitting there for a long time, because the industry has not been investing enough in the mining sector to bring in new supply. And also the same dynamics that Tarmo has mentioned, being able to be a patient investor, I think is very important. And so we're filling a gap in that space, and we want to work with everyone really in that sector, including the Japanese trading houses, the majors, and even the other financial institutions too.
On that point, how are you in your engagements with some of these potential investors who, if I'm not mistaken, probably have a fairly conservative risk appetite? You look at the North Asians, for example. Have you seen a shift in that thinking? Is the conversation different now in terms of how they see risk coming into these jurisdictions? Who would like to have a go at that one?
Well, then I start. I think one of the benefits that Manara Minerals has is, of course, we can leverage a lot of the ecosystem that exists here in Saudi Arabia and some of the relationships and long-standing business, trading and cultural relationships that exist. I think we as one investor are trying to work with operating companies, how we can bring our experience to the table to overall, let's call it, make different jurisdictions more investable, more attractive, not just for us as investors, but maybe also for the more traditionally conservative investors in other parts of the world and with other mandates. And I think that's one of the areas where maybe we can act as a little bit of a catalyst. Not just Manara, not just PIF, but it's other PIF portfolio companies. I mean, before coming to Saudi, I had no idea. The world's largest water desalination company is from Saudi Arabia. One of the world's largest renewable power investors is from Saudi Arabia. So when we can look at supporting mining development for the benefit of ourselves and other investors, but also the communities, there are maybe different tools that we can bring that not everybody else can bring, that ultimately result in de-risking. Because what does de-risking really mean? What is a sustainable investment? It's usually one where everybody gets benefit. And that's why I think we can add something different.
No, I agree with Tarmo, and all this is new to us, right? Bringing, pulling the whole ecosystem together. Now we're talking to the Saudi Fund for Development to also be supportive in other projects outside the Islamic Development Bank, and the whole ecosystem so we can offer a comprehensive, attractive package to.
And a question for both of you. Infrastructure is a key theme, and the need for financing, but also a more comprehensive view of integrating infrastructure to other productive sectors. How does Manara look at that issue? Tarmo, do you want to have a first go and then me?
Yeah, well, I go first. I think it's ultimately, it is on a case-by-case basis, naturally. Infrastructure, mining is a very infrastructure-intensive industry, and I think it's fair to say that often it is that infrastructure that enables the mining project as well as maybe other economic benefits. And it's not always easy to justify kind of the investment quantum that can be required if you are just a mining investor or just a for-profit investor focusing on the mining industry. So I think what we're trying to do is maybe working with institutions, international institutions, Saudi institutions, to say, okay, can we make the infrastructure benefit the mining? Can the funding of the infrastructure be done in a way that is attractive to, it's called the mining investor, including us? And then maybe are there separate infrastructure investment elements that can be attractive to investors that are more focused on the infrastructure side? I mean, ports, rails, and others. We don't necessarily want to invest in rail, but often that is required to enable, let's say, bulk infrastructure projects, bulk commodity projects.
Farid, anything you want to
No, I
add
think
to that? So that brings me back to this notion of risk and how the kingdom leverages its own relationships to overcome some of those or minimize some of those risks. Farid, do you want to have a...
Yeah, I mean, there are two ways we've seen is obviously making sure that we're partnering with the right operator who has established relationship in country and with the communities. This is a way where we can de-risk that angle. The other thing is to leverage the G2G relationships that the kingdom has with neighboring countries. So we're in regular contact with the various ministries in Saudi Arabia who are very proactive as well in that space, helping us manage those relationships to be able to de-risk our investments.
And another theme that is very strong here at FMF is the whole notion of responsible supply. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on how Manara considers that issue as you look outside of the kingdom and to the super region in particular with its own sustainability challenges and also opportunities. How are you looking at that?
I think Manara is on a journey there, but maybe I'll give you personal perspectives. Like when I took this role and was looking at this role, I think one of the things I looked at was, okay, what does PIF do? And does PIF have criteria around, CO2 abatement, responsible and sustainable development? And that is definitely a case. And one of the things I found very enjoyable since deciding to take that role is that it's not just policy statements that are, in an annual report, but it's a real live indications for investment objectives. So when we look at investments, there need to be real, tangible, ESG criteria. There's still work being done. We're ultimately still fairly early doors. But no, we want to align with PIF principles, and ultimately, of course, we want to work with partners that have these same principles in place. And I think that's also we can learn a lot from them. I mean, we are a young organization. We can learn from the experience that some of these operators have had for many decades in different jurisdictions.
And anything you'd add to that, Farid?
No,
in terms of responsibility and the new technology being an important part to that, is that a key area of conversation with your potential partners? Technological solutions to some of these sustainability challenges?
Yeah, I mean, more specifically on the Ma'aden side, I mean, they're focusing a lot on new technologies, on how to accelerate exploration, how to accelerate, shortening the time to bring a mine into production. How can you use technology to improve safety and improve efficiencies as well?
So, what would be your key call to action, your key message coming out of this conversation for the people listening in and learning about Manara? One key message?
Well, I think from my perspective it is, we are a fairly young organization, but we have now made our first investment. We are building a team, we're building capabilities, we're building relationships. If you are a company, if you're a host government that believes they have an attractive long-term investment proposition, come talk to us here at FMF, here at various of the institutions in Saudi, through the PIF, and maybe through Manara's website if you like. We are very much open for business. We are looking to find and build long-term partnerships. So come talk to us, and maybe there's a solution that previously wasn't available to you that now could be a path forward.
Thank you, Tom. And Farid?
Yeah, look, I mean, Saudi Arabia is a very young country, young population. People are very energetic. We actually walk the talk. We actually get things done. It's not just Manara is an example. It took a year to set up. Then we simultaneously executed a transaction, and hopefully next year we'll have more deliverables.
Absolutely. So ladies and gentlemen, the message here you've heard, come and talk to us, is very clear one. You have a few more hours to do so,
Yeah.
but I encourage you
Talk to my team members instead.
I
That would be
encourage you
better.
to reach out to Farid and Tamo. These are two very important gentlemen. I'll stress that point as far as the future of the kingdom's drive for more minerals to enable its own diversification, and as a huge supporter of FMF itself, which is in its early years. So on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank Farid Habib and Tamo Hansen for their contributions today, and I encourage you to go and have a chat to them. So thank you very much. Now,
Thank you.
thank you very much.